What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode on the BloonsCast. I'm your host, Curly Fries, and I'm here joined by my two very beautiful co-hosts, Rocco and Doggo Dutchman. Say what's up, boys.
Hello.
And,
All
right.
New fresh content
For our
for you.
guest.
And, get the spotlight off of these two kids, okay? Because we have two beautiful people who are deciding to join this podcast as a very special guest. Now, Felicia and BloonsRanked, why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
Well, I think people already know you, so how about you start again?
Alright, so I am BloonsRanked. I am a mobile player who plays bosses, and I also do some chimps runs and do some guides whenever I feel like it. I am one of the better mobile players when it comes to bosses, and I just love the community. I just do this whole thing to make the community a bigger place, you know?
W respect.
For the love of the game.
W
Humble
respect.
as always.
For the love of the game.
Felicia, what is up? Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Well, basically, my name is Felicia. You can also call me Felix. I don't really care what you choose. I'm basically one of the longest active members in the community and have so far amassed to the most first place badges in bosses as a whole. I've also participated in a community-led boss tournament in 2025, which I ended up winning, which we can touch up on later as well. And recently, I've also gotten into races a bit again, and have just last week gotten a second place in race with help from a lot of other people from the community.
Ooh,
That
exciting.
basically-
Absolutely. Like,
Exciting.
In
Actually
other words, he's
insane.
absolutely cracked.
I mean, just from some basic digging, you also have several world record placements on some co-op boss events, right?
Yeah,
And like you're like, I mean, if you guys are listening, or like for those who are listening, Felicia is absolutely like the best of the best. Like, and it is insane, and it's absolutely a pleasure to have you back, Ranked, because that episode was so much fun, and I cannot wait. I've been so excited about this episode. So thank you so much for being
Yeah.
able to do this and being able to join. This is
Oh, yeah,
gonna be a
thank you for
juicy,
coming
guys.
back.
We
Thank you
got
for
a lot
coming
of fun stuff.
back.
Of course, I had a lot of
We got a
fun
lot
last
of fun
time,
in
and now that
store.
Felicia's here, I think this will be an amazing episode.
Yeah, so Ranked was talking about Felicia. Now you're on. Now I might be wrong here, okay? But Felicia, you're on the European BTD6 team. Is that it? Where it's like,
well, it's not really a European team. Basically, it's just the group of friends that I started playing with, and because all of us are German, we're just being called the German team in that sense.
the German team, and you guys beat the China team in one of the boss events, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so in that sense, you basically had co-op be a really, really dry mode for a while until around the beginning of 2023, later in 2023 as well, even more. I started to play with a person called Spanny that I just got into boss a bit, that then constituted to me getting Sir Crowley and Yanlife as well, and that we kind of just got better as a team. And we basically are the team that made co-op not just look like free badges, but actually like a competitive mode. And after that happened, people started to catch on that you can actually do a lot of optimizing and have a lot of fun in those events. So that's also how like a lot of people, specifically from the Asian or Chinese community, have also gotten into that. And recently, those have been like some of the biggest competition we had, with the exception of like another team that's basically led by 4 people that we are also really good friends with.
I will say it was when Ranked actually first talked about teams. It was like, you know, it made perfect sense, but it was honestly the first like I've really heard about it, like that there
Yeah,
are
me too.
teams. And
Yeah.
if you actually wouldn't mind giving, especially those who are a bit more unfamiliar with the competitive scene, roughly how it's structured, because I can imagine that some people maybe have watched a few ISAP videos going over some of your boss events, some Mac-in rules, like
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
some
of
of the overall bigger creators that I covered, but there's so much to learn about this competitive community, and like, yeah, do you mind just giving a rough outline of like how you guys usually operate and compete?
Yeah, so for us, usually we are a bit more of an extreme team in that sense. So what a lot of people usually do, I'm gonna talk about more general stuff first and then get into the deeper things, as I
Sounds
believe.
good.
So for general teams, you usually have them spend like a few days, like 2 or 3 runs, just figuring out how the boss properly works and what strats are good. And that just leads to like team creation. There are such things as like solo team creations, so you have 2 or 3 people working on a solo run. They just pool strategies together and come up with like one strategy that works best for the run. And then you have co-op teams, which ranked for bosses specifically is like categorized into solo and co-op as like big categories, but co-op is separated into 3 different brackets as well. 2-player, 3-player, and 4-player. And the sort of team building I mostly have played with is just a 4-player team, which is basically you have 4 people in one run, and we all work together in that same run to optimize the strat to the max. We, however, have gotten to the point where we don't really spend time optimizing in the run. Instead, we play boss challenges or play solo in unranked, and we just test kills a bit, and after that we go straight into our runs. Usually the testing is anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, but sometimes we also just go in blind.
Oh
The
wow.
biggest, yeah, the biggest thing about blind runs is just that something could just go wrong because we haven't tested anything. That, however, happens rarely nowadays. We've basically reached a point which it's gonna sound hard to understand. We can just look at a rule set and just know what strategy is gonna work.
Yeah, I mean, there have been so many different rule sets and so much experience. There's only so much change that can happen between events.
I
So
mean,
I can imagine that you guys just have it down now.
yeah, I mean, at first it was more complex because you had to learn everything. But nowadays, even if we have rule sets that have never been the case anymore, like never been the case before ever anything, we can just go ahead and because of past experiences with how towers perform against bosses, we can just get a general idea of what is likely to be the best strategy.
Has that changed much, especially since the Diamondback balloon has started to hit the boss events? And that one I know
Diamond,
came in with a bit of that
yeah,
one was a hard one to start off.
Yeah, so Diamondback specifically, some of you may have seen it in the video from ISAP, Roots or Mahalik, that a lot of us ended up struggling with the Diamond Balloons a lot because they just were not really balanced for the early tiers in that sense at the time. So on that, it actually took a while to figure out the best kills. I believe in the video that I ended up showing for the tournament, that Rules, I believe it was, showed, I figured out the best tier 1 kill. My tier 2, 3, 4, and 5 kill, however, were not optimal. During the actual first event, Shani specifically figured out that you could skull skip every single skull of the boss if you timed it frame perfectly, even without the ice gun. You could skull skip the first skull and the second skull at the same time, third and fourth and fifth and sixth. So Spani ended up running a whole normal run with that and now has a time that is completely unbeatable for all times in the future.
Oh my god.
Unbeatable? What do you mean unbeatable? Like no
Yeah.
way anyone could ever beat it?
So after that event, they changed it so you can no longer skull skip, except with the ice
Oh,
paragon.
dang.
So effectively on every single tier, people have to do 2 more skull skips than possible to reach the same time as Spani ended up getting. And Spani only missed 1 singular skull skip in the entire run on all 5 tiers. So it's completely impossible to beat the time.
Dang. That's pretty crazy.
Ha.
If I remember
Yeah.
correctly, I think his time was like he gapped them by like 30 seconds or something.
Spani's time was, I believe it was a 119 point something, and the second place time was the player, Pat, who got a time of 139. Unfortunately, they ended the event early because for the first Diamondback event, we actually had a really large co-op group. I ended up DMing like 9 or 10 of the best players in the game to go ahead and join a Discord DM group where we just pooled all the strategies together that we fought for Diamondback. So Pat unfortunately was not able to push his time further because the event got ended way earlier because partially of a lot of bugs with Diamondback, including the sky skipping.
Wow, that's just so cool. And
Yeah.
I mean, like, this is, as you guys have stated, such a large community. Like, and you guys have been doing how long is like ever since the first boss events, you guys have been like there's been like a big scene, or did it start coming up as of late?
So the first actual boss events until I believe event 7 or 8, we actually did not have ranked. You only had Bloonarius in unranked. After that, they added Lich, and with the introduction of Lich, you also had ranked. Which, compared to back then, bosses have dropped a lot in terms of how many people play it, partially because the game has lost players over time, but also because recently we have gotten a new event developer that does a lot of very extreme rule sets, which a lot of the competitive players just do not like, me included.
That was, I guess, since you brought it up, I do actually have a question because, like, I am curious from a competitor, or at least from your opinion, and ranked as well, is like for the boss events with these extreme modifiers. Because in a way, there is the argument that it keeps it fresh, right? That there are these new extreme modifiers, but also you
Yeah.
have to be like, you just to complete them, like the high HP or the speed, increased speed, or interesting modifiers. Like, one, how that affects the competitive scene, but like, are they? It kind of sounded like you were that they end up being a bit more polarizing. People don't like them as much.
Yeah, so for me specifically, and a lot of the players that I talk to, a huge issue with the restrictions of that is you talked about in the beginning how I do have a lot of red records currently. A lot of those have just stood for years without having been able to be beaten, partially because of those restrictions. Usually, those records are set on events with base HP and base starting cash, everything on the standard, or maybe a little bit higher starting cash. But recently, we have had so little events where it was even possible to get anywhere close to that because of that you are not able to track that anymore. That is however, that is like one of the smallest issues we have with that. A way bigger issue we have with that is that if you have a lot of restrictions, the strategies become forced. So if you specifically look at this week's boss, you have least tiers. The elite strategy is on 200% speed, which is a little more limiting, but the elite scores right now are most likely kept at 57 tiers. Maybe 56 is possible if you cut a crosspath, which I believe one person is doing right now. I was talking to them a bit earlier. But a lot of the times you can just look at a boss and instantly know the least tier score or like close to the least cash score because you don't have any other towers that you could use. A really good example for that would be the Dread Balloon from, I believe it was 5 or 6 weeks ago, where we had a Dread Balloon on Tinkerton.
Ah, yes.
Which on
I
that
remember this.
event, we only had a total of 9 towers, including the hero. So least cash, least tiers normal, and the elites were kind of very, very obvious. If you watched some videos, every single elite score on the entire leaderboard was just all the same, and everyone just had to grind time. On the normal score, there was a very, very cool strat that somehow no one figured out except 2 people. And that ended up making the event not as bad as it could have been, because at least normal had strategy difference. But in Elite, everyone just got the same tier tie of 44 tiers over the whole leaderboard. I believe it even stretched to 4-player Elite co-op, which, considering that has 160% extra HP, just shows how limiting it was. Because you added nothing to the strategy and it worked the same way.
Wow. Yeah,
Hey,
I go on. Yes.
I actually agree with Felix here. I was a part of the event that week for Dread Balloon, and I was third place for, I believe it was either the 3-player or 4-player leaderboard. And in the last like 4 hours before the event ended, I dropped to fourth, which I am pretty upset about, but nothing I can do when it comes to time.
Yeah, just when there's like a singular strategy that kind of dominates, and so you just
Yeah.
end up grinding the time if it's like least tiers, or least cash.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine.
To be fair, least cash is not as bad because usually you have a way to cut 1 or 2 tiers, which just ends up making it playable.
I gotta
mean-
say, I do like how you're talking about like the hidden parts of rank, because I never knew that there was multiple people who like work on it at once and then try to find out like what upgrades to use, what tiers to use, and then like I just find it so interesting how there was this whole scene of BTD6 that I literally just had like no idea that it existed, and I have to thank you for telling us it, because this is like I never knew. This is like really dang interesting. And Felicia, and this also goes with ranked, I have to ask you guys, how did you guys get into the rank scene yourself? Like, what really got you into the rank scene?
I think Rank can start with that because my introduction to that will be a little bit longer.
All right, so I left the game in about 2021 or like late 2020 when I started high school. This was before I think Dark Paragon was released. And when I came back to the game in 2023-ish, that's when I was about like in the middle of finishing high school, or it's 2024, I'm not really sure. I was like finishing high school, and I saw that ranked was an option, and so I started playing more because I felt ranked was intriguing because I wanted to play more like competitive in the game because I felt like just playing solo and playing these normal games like Game Black Borders wasn't fun enough. So I created a team with a streamer that I was playing with, and this is actually the week that me and Felix met. This was like one of my first weeks. I met Jimothy, which is a well-known member in the community. Uh, he came up with a strategy for the solo version of the boss, and I came up with the 4-player and 3-player uh, way to beat the boss. And we did the runs. Spent like I think 3 or 4 hours on each run. Maybe it was 2 or 3. I'm not 100%. But we did get first place in 3-player and 4-player before Felix took our 4-player back because I did say something and he felt that I was making like a joke, and he wanted to take it back. And I think the 3-player leaderboard was cheaters, if I'm not wrong, Felix.
I'm pretty sure the score was cheated. The players and the score did not really make a lot of sense.
Yeah, so I should have gotten first place that week.
Nowadays the cheaters are better filtered, right? Like
No, no.
no?
So specifically for cheaters, we had a huge thing like 2 or 3 weeks ago where a cheater just did not get removed even after support looked into it. So we had to contact developers directly to look into it, which then ended up getting that cheater removed, luckily. But at times, support does struggle a lot. So for a lot of the time, I've been like one of the many people in like the top community who look at scores, check the profiles, and just make sure that cheaters are caught. An example was also happening this week. About 6 hours ago, a cheater got a 17 score on the solo normal leaderboard and a 30 tier score on the elite leaderboard, which then was reported. And after checking the profile, you could also very clearly see that via API data, their profile was just completely hacked as well.
Oh man.
What's even the point of cheating is my question. Like, is there just no point to it?
I think a lot of people just want to see their name at the top of the leaderboard. But I think for some of the events, people also just look at the top of the leaderboard, think, yeah, I would like to be there. Then they look at the scores and they feel like the people who got those scores are already cheating because they can't comprehend what it actually takes to get those times or those scores. So they just end up cheating because they feel it's justified, because they cannot fathom what the strategy is that ends up getting those scores.
Ignore
Huh.
the hard work just to get the results, just to see.
Effectively, yeah.
Uh, no matter what competitive community, that always seems to come up. Just from like the few games that I've speedrun that have nothing to do with balloons, but there are always those people that want to skip straight to the top, think that they're owed results. Because you
From the person
kind of
spot.
hinted, and Felicia, I know we want to get into how you got into, but real quickly, this like most of the community is like due to the events that Ninja Kiwi actually puts on, right? And then occasionally you'll have like the boss tournament, which a new one is also coming up pretty soon,
Yes.
I believe. But yeah, like this is all like the leaderboard that's shown to like the public that anyone can participate into, right? That's how you guys mostly track it.
Effectively, yeah.
So, like, I mean, just like that, because and eventually we'll get into like how actually Ninja Kiwi, how you think that they respond to both the casual players, but also in the competitive scene. But first, why don't you get into how you got into the competitive scene in the first place?
Well, I think I should start like near the beginning. In about like 5th grade, I got told about this game called BTD5. So I started playing that, mostly just going for cool scores, like high rounds, kind of what everyone does. Then when the new game got released in about late 2019, I ended up getting the game on mobile as well on PC in 2022. In 2019, I used to play a bit, got to around level 130, just did basically what everyone of you has done as well. Get into the game, just have fun, try to understand everything. And then I took a break all the way until December 2021, where due to some friends I got back into the game, just went for high rounds again, that time on my actually playing actively on my PC, instead of just having the game and not playing it at all. And that's when I started seeing those boss events. So I watched a few people play them, and then the next week, I believe it was around event 15 or 16, so really early on into the boss events, I played my first event and beat it unranked. Then it continued. About 2 weeks later, I saw a ranked guide on YouTube, so I looked at it and was like, "Oh, this ranked looks pretty cool. You have a timer and you can compete with people." So back then I played that. I placed horribly. I got top 25% with a guy that was top 50. So basically just how everyone feels the first time they play. The week after, I grinded even harder, ended up getting 51st place in solo normal, and started to talk on Twitch after that. After that, I found one player called Sammy that has now quit, unfortunately, who basically told me about this ranked stuff. They had a Discord, a German BTD6 Discord that sadly also does no longer have anyone active, really. So I started playing there, playing for top 50, and immediately the week after I placed 51st in solo, I also met another person called Legendary Wombat, which we ended up playing a 4-player elite then, which in the effectively 3rd week I played ranked, I got a 2nd place and 4-player elite then. And that kind of sparked the whole idea of actually becoming good at the game. that basically followed by me just getting top 50s, no real top 3 placements until about 4 months later when Ninja Kiwi ended an event 4 days early and I happened to be in 2nd place at the time on the normal leaderboard. So that's where I got my 2nd place in normal, the first one from. So now I had 1 2nd place in normal and 1 2nd place elite. So obviously the next step I thought of was I want to get a top 1 badge now.
Yeah.
Then, however, came a point where I got a little too deep into BTD6, so I got my PC taken away from me for like 6
Oh,
months.
no way.
What?
No, for BTD6. That's brutal.
Yeah,
That's insane.
That's brutal.
it
I'm
was
so
like
sorry you had to deal
around,
with that.
it was like around the
Yeah.
end of Corona, so I just ended up playing on mobile and ended up getting top 50s, discovered a few bugs that appeared during the time, and got into races a bit. That basically resulted in me wanting to get good placements even more after I got back on my PC. I got it back, but then I kind of felt demotivated on playing. So I just existed basically playing very rarely with for top 50 or with friends. Then came the time where I first got back into like proper competitive again with a player called Raceburner that has now also quit. It's gonna be a trend that everyone who I've played with is gonna quit at some
gosh.
point. Uh,
Do they also get their PCs taken away?
Yeah.
basically most of them have quit just because of lack of like care for the game, and which is also a large part of why I'm the only one, except for like my co-op team and a few very very rare exceptions that actually have a lot of first places, because most people end up quitting because it really is a mental strain after a while. So basically with Raceburner, I got my first top 1 in Elite. And then I ended up playing 2-player with another player called NordMax, who has also quit now. That
The
basically
PC.
got me to play actively for like a few weeks. I got a few second places, a few third places, and few really cool scores. But that top 1 normal batch still eluded me, unfortunately, of course. So I ended up quitting for around 2 years, just only watching the top strats, keeping up with all of the strats that are being done, just soaking it all in. And around 2023 or 2024, I'm not really sure which one it was, I believe 2023. In February, there was a guy called Sprite LOL that was abusing a bug to gain more cash in the early game. So looking at that, I felt it was kind of scummy. So I ended up DMing a few people and ended up finding Spanny, who I then ended up playing 2-player with, or 3-player. I then continued playing that just with the sole goal of beating that bug abuser.
Ha.
Which the first week I ended,
Dang.
which the first week I played with him, we ended up second place, beating the bug abuser, but got beaten by a different team. And in the week after, I ended up beating that person on all the leaderboards and getting my first top 1 in normal, as well as also getting top 1 in
Hey.
elite.
Let's go.
Which that was also my first double top 1, so top 1 in normal and elite. And as it turns out, that was the spark that was needed to get me to continue playing.
Dang. Well,
After that, yeah.
I was gonna say I'm glad you beat the cheaters, man. That is good. That is good.
Yeah. Seriously, because and that's also interesting. Just like to add on, because there's sometimes in competitive communities there's abusing bugs and glitches. Like sometimes they're encouraged and sometimes they're not, and it is actually really cool to see, like, legitimately, like, without bug exploiting, you can actually still beat these players.
It's the main thing is they exploited a cache bug. So while they had more cache, they still had to farm with it optimally and actually get the correct kills. That, however, is gonna change 4 events or 5 events later, when I played those 4 events like a little bit. I got a second place, a third place, nothing special though. Then came an
Second
event.
place, third place, nothing special.
Yeah, nothing special.
Nothing special for you.
Yeah, at the time, those scores, I was comfortable getting those scores because back then there was only timed, and I had watched so much content of how all of those bosses work that even when I got a score that was second place, I knew how to do it better. I just did not. I was just not good enough to execute it because I knew all of the solo strats and everything. I just was unable to execute it. So then we had a week on Underground, which is like the next big milestone, where there was normal 4-player, which I ended up second place, unfortunately losing to a Chinese team, which is like the first time of me and China having like a little confrontation. And then I played the 3-player elite leaderboard, which ended up having a cheater on there that did not abuse any bugs, just straight up cheated their score. So I ended up playing with Spani and Arsen, which are 2 players that Spani still occasionally plays today, but Arsen has also quit. Over the span of 2.5 days, we spent a total of 25 hours optimizing our
Jesus
run to
Christ.
end up beating that cheated score by a few seconds. So
That's so cool.
that was like the first spark where I was like, okay, if I actually try, I can be really good. I believe the week after we had a Lich, which was the first time I actually played with Sir Crowley, where we ended up getting first place in 4-player elite, already almost touching a world record. Because at the time, Sir Crowley was one of the best solo players, not the best, but in the top 10, I would say. So he had out massively there. Although I will to this day call skill issue on his side because he timed the Enchigon cell really badly. So I will put the blame on him for that forever. And I ended up playing 2-player normal with Spani and ended up finishing top 1 in about 1 hour and 30 minutes, which is to this day one of the fastest top 1s I have played. And this was the first time that my name was recognized as like a force that was like, oh, this guy is playing, I gotta watch out for them. Because I distinctly remember one person posting about it, saying they are currently 3rd place, but knowing they would place in 4th place because they saw on my profile that I was playing 2-player normal, and they were just already expecting to lose to me instantly, even before I even started to run, really.
Dang. How does that feel, bro?
Wow.
That's like aura. You literally have aura from that. Like, how does that feel to be so good that people know your name on the streets?
So back
On the
then
streets of
it was
BloonsRanked.
like, okay, that's really funny. It wasn't like, oh yeah, people know me. It was like, haha, they know I'm coming. So it was
They
just,
know I'm coming. Wow.
it was honestly just hilarious. After that, it basically just continued with getting better and better. And at the end of 2023, I believe I ended with 10th or 21st places, and then came 2024, which that is my big year, which is when I played with Sir Crowley, Jan, Spani, and myself, of course. And during that week, I believe we played 48 or 50 events, and out of all of those events, which there was 54 total in that year, we won all but 2.
Dang.
Damn, all but
Dang.
two.
My God. You guys are really the big guys on top.
Yeah, and
Top of the food chain.
that was also the time where the name German team appeared first, because people knew we were all German, and that was also the time where where 4-player just turned not into a leaderboard you could play, but 4-player turned into, yeah, if you want second place, go play that.
Dang.
Because if it was a week, we were gonna play it, we were gonna play 4-player, and we were always winning. There was barely any chance of anyone beating us, and that continued for the entire year of 2024.
Damn.
Wow.
Just dominating.
And how big was the scene at that point? Like, were there a lot of competitors, especially for co-op? I'm gonna be honest. I don't think a lot of people think about co-op bosses when they, like, unless they're deep in the community, right?
So there were a lot of teams, but none of them optimized anywhere close to our level. The whole thing peaked on on one of the first phase events, where on phase we ended up beating the world record that was set in solo, and that was the first time a co-op one ever beat a solo world record.
Really?
Dang. Dang.
Oh my god.
First
The-
time in history.
Yeah. Before that, we also set a world record in 2023 on Blinarius, but that was not as special as that one, because that one marked like the point of co-op actually being like a big thing. Because anytime someone said co-op leaderboard is free, you could refer them to that specific event, and people just had to respect it.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Did that cause like for more people to start playing co-op? Because like
I think it was a large part in co-op earning more respect, because before that it was kind of seen as, oh yeah, free top ones. And after us starting and like showing what you can actually do, it turned more into, yeah, you can actually do good scores there, but top 2 and 3 are still free. But you can't really do anything for that. It's partially Ninja Kiwi's fault, because of co-op stability just not being the best.
oh yeah, you gotta love that, of course.
Yeah.
Some things
What-
never
Get-
change.
Yeah.
Get the nice disconnect and latency issues.
Yeah, that was a large issue back then. Nowadays it's not as bad, but crashes still happen a lot. That's why I've recently, the last few events I played before I got my 100 badges, this timed one specifically, I played with Katabu, another really good player who has a PC similar to my specs, because that was required as to not crash.
Hey, Felix,
Yeah.
if you don't mind me asking, how many times during boss events while you guys were playing runs do you think you've green screened of death?
Oh, green screen of death, we actually never had big issues. I think over all events we green screened maybe 8 or 9 times.
Wow. That's
We
lucky.
had We, however, were the only team who consistently ran into a different issue, which was a resync error message too large. So our games consistently ended up having too much data. So once we resynced, so all the data syncs over all players, our resync message was too big for the game to handle. So each player crashed one after another, and there was nothing we could do.
Did that cost
Wow.
you a lot of runs?
I mean, if I consider all of the crashed runs, if I finished them and gotten the placement we would have gotten, I would not be at 100 in both normal and elite for first places now, but closer to 130.
What?
Oh my gosh.
Dang.
Wow.
30.
There
That's
were
almost a
also,
fourth.
there were also
Yeah.
a lot of runs back before I started getting top runs with Race Burner, where I just crashed and did not end up finishing the run, which is unfortunate, but I've learned to not care too much about that, because history is history.
History
Yeah.
is history. But that's still a big shame. That's 30. That's a lot.
I know that's 30. That's 30 potential wins.
I
What
guess
can
at
you
the
do?
same time though, would like do other people run into that issue a lot, or was it just you guys?
The green screen issues people ran into, but the crash issue, we were the only team, because we were the only team optimizing, farming, and everything to the point where we even had the chance to get that. Because 32,000 bits, which is the limit, is hard to reach unless you do a lot of stuff. And we used to reach it at around 80, as early as around 60, 68 even. While other people could not fill that within all of the boss game.
Is that a hard thing for Ninja Kiwi to fix? Or are
They
they
could
just
just they could just increase the resync limit from 32k to 64k, and you could already make it to around 90. But they could also just increase it to like a different integer limit, and then you could have no issues at all with that. But Ninja Kiwi
why don't they do that?
Ninja Kiwi specifically just does not see co-op as a big thing, because it has a lot of players, which I think they are not remembering that co-op has no players partially because of stability issues, which they refuse to fix.
Yep. I know they have even promised like even outside of like boss events, just like a retry last round on chimps for co-op, and stability issues are constantly an issue, and they just don't address them. I know that that's been actually especially in some community spaces, even on Reddit. I know people are frustrated because, and that actually leads into one of my questions that I have is, how do you think Ninja Kiwi like kind of facilitates uh this co-op, but like these events and like kind of in the balancing between casual and competitive and making interesting events, uh like how they're innovating.
So we actually have a Discord for balancing stuff specifically, where the current event developer talks a lot, and their view on stuff is more focused on casual players have to beat it, but he wants it to be difficult enough to not have bosses feel too easy. In his eyes, the high HP modifiers are, well, their eyes. The HP modifiers are necessary because Paragon's power creep is just way higher than the boss HP, which none of the competitive players understand because they are deliberately making Paragons stronger and stronger. Whereas instead of buffing the bosses, they could just nerf the Paragons, which everyone would be much happier with.
Yeah, I can actually understand that. I know just in general tower creep has become almost a problem. It's starting to trivialize some modes, and I mean, especially with Paragons, there could be like a lack of like Bomb Paragon. Ranked was saying how the Druid Paragon is just completely like it's cool in concept, but completely inviable for most boss events.
It actually has a use on 3 bosses, those being Blast Populace, Phase, and Vortex, because its ability is effectively similar to the Wizard Paragon, but because it does not have a graveyard ability, it basically has the ability to permanently stay on during the entire boss kill, making it technically better than Wizard Paragon on those bosses. So it
Yeah, I
always
guess that does make sense.
it always is a way of how you see it. Bomb Paragon specifically may not be the most viable in solo, but it is a huge powerhouse in co-op because you can reset the ability cooldown with Striker Jones, which can be paired with rejuvenation potions in co-op, allowing you to, in 4-player, if you were to have Striker Jones and 3 Jerrys, you could use 8 bomb gun abilities, which was enough for the old Lich, which ended up allowing us to almost beat a world record that was set on one specific April Fool's event on Blondes, which was never thought to be even close to possible.
Ha. That's actually one. I actually didn't know that Striker Jones and Reju potions actually reset the Bomb Paragon cooldown. I always kind of assumed that they counted like the buffs, like they couldn't like Paragons can't get buffs from the heroes.
Yeah,
So
they specifically wanted to rework the entire thing because of that. At first, the Ace Paragon also did not get any buff from the Bolt Paragon, which they later added to have a synergy in that sense.
they have been leaning into that a lot. I guess not as of late, for a good year or two now, right? Where Paragons are kind of buffing each other with the Engineer Paragon and the Boomerang Paragon.
Yes.
So it is, and which then leads to power creep, as you were mentioning before.
Yeah.
I don't know. It is fascinating, and it kind of, because you guys seem to, or like the events manager, as you said, seems to kind of be more vocal in the community about like how they generalize and make the events, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Hey, I actually meant to ask you, Felix. How does everybody in the like top bossing community feel about the recent Enjigan nerf?
It's not really enough in our eyes. The only thing that's nerfed is the ability of the Wizard Paragon. The rest is buffed actually.
And
Oh, really?
just for some viewers that might not be on top of some of the buffs and nerfs, what
Like me.
specifically are you guys talking about?
So basically the Engineer Paragon ability was changed to drain faster on the Wizard's ability if its mana was above 50,000, which doubles the attack rate of the Wizard Paragon. So they nerfed it specifically for that. But in return, they increased the ability duration on other Paragons as to counterbalance that fact. Because a large issue with the Engineer Paragon when it was first introduced was that the overclock ability, when it got added to it, was way too overpowered, as it had more than 100% uptime after level degree 40, I believe it was, which allowed you in combination to Spike Paragon to insta-kill Lunarius on Elite, the whole 40 mil HP. And if you had a high degree Paragon, you could also insta-kill the 4-player Elite version with 64 million HP. And they obviously had to change stuff around with that.
Interesting.
A lot
So
of
how do
the
oh,
a
go
lot
ahead,
of
Phil.
a lot of the competitive people actually wish that NG Paragon OC was never added because it is so hard to balance.
fair.
Interesting. Were you about to say something, Ranked, by the way?
Yeah, I was going to ask. So how does that really like affect like time bosses? Because I know that Wizard Paragon is a giant necessity for most time bosses.
Effectively, the only change from that is that you do not want to overclock the Wizard Paragon on kills that are extremely long. But on short kills, you would still just OC the Wizard Paragon. If the kill is below a certain time, you just use the Wizard Paragon regardless, because it's just the best thing. But if the kill is above a certain time, you would swap to the Spike or to the Druid Paragon.
Okay. Now, if you actually wouldn't mind a quick conversation shift, just a slight one. I'm also curious because, and definitely, I asked this to Rank last episode, but I want like a multitude of opinions. Like, I think that there's still a lot of potential in like competitive play, and especially for like newer players and more casual players, they might see so much interest but not know where to get started. And I'm just curious what skills and like ways are the best way to kind of get a better understanding of how to do ranked bosses and start actually competing in leaderboards.
Yeah, so one of the first things I would advise is don't try to get the best scores at first. Try to have fun and test around with towers. If you just ask for strategies straight up, you're not gonna understand why they work or what makes up those strategies. Testing around and just doing what you enjoy is gonna give you the motivation to actually keep playing for long enough to actually get good at the game. You shouldn't focus on just trying to get good scores instantly because it's really unlikely for that to happen. The second thing is just joining Discords or watching YouTube videos of past events. On Discord, you're usually going to have a lot of nice people willing to help. For me, for example, if you just ask me nicely for some help with something instead of just asking me for the strategy directly, I'm always going to be willing to help you. I'm not going to tell you directly what the strategy is because I feel like it helps people more if they have to figure out stuff on their own because they are going to remember that long time instead of just short time.
That
And
makes sense.
Very wise, very wise.
And for YouTube specifically, there are a lot of strategies that have gotten forgotten over time by most players. So if you watch back some of those older videos, some of those have better farming than some people have nowadays, way more creative kills, and just interactions that you forget exist nowadays. A really, really good example of this is druid farming, which was a huge debate in late 2025 because people thought it was overpowered and way too strong. After we ended up leaking it, because no one knew what druid farming actually was, even though it was publicly known all the way back in 2022, 2023.
I think I actually remember because yeah, there was a huge discussion. Wasn't it that Druid Paragon or Druid Farming, sorry, went under the radar for a while, and then it kind of proved to be way more busted than anyone thought. It like
It,
overpowered busted, so didn't need to get nerfed. And then
it,
lately, it just got reworked.
it was really strong. However, the time needed to optimize it was also really high. Because if you did not do it close to optimal, you would usually end up with less cash than you had by normally farming. And the actual payoff was worth it, but that is the case for almost any farming. People just did not understand how much time it took. The only thing that we were kind of hoping for is for it to be nerfed a little bit, but made easier because you were always required to perfectly stall. But nowadays it is effectively useless unless you have Open, which you are not gonna take in any run because you just have way better options of hero choice.
Mm. Except on I mean, has Ninja Kiwi since the rework done Druid Farming specific boss event?
I mean, a lot of balance changes are specifically for boss events, for race events. Some are a mix of both, some are for gyms. But Druid farming rework, basically every rework that has something to do with farming is almost always based on boss events, as that is the
Mm.
only mode where that actually matters. I'm expecting the next nerf to be a sniper farming nerf, and that probably in correlation with the potential release of the Sniper Paragon, which may be the next Paragon, but we are not sure yet. It would make a lot of sense though.
So like how they release the Druid Paragon and then rework the farming, they do the same for Sniper. Not like a full rework, but just a change.
I would expect so, because a very, very, very insane farming strategy that we have been using for 2024 and recently leaked in 2025 was co-op sniper farming, where on round 60, after we had a lot of eco on tier 2, we transitioned to a full map of snipers and started calculating and cycling rejuvenation potions, ending up making 900k to 1 million to 1.2 million per round, just only after sniper farming for
Oh
around
man.
10 rounds, then continued it all the way until 79 and ended up with way more than double of the people who did not use that farming.
That's actually interesting.
So it was just busted.
Yeah.
Sorry, go say that again.
I just said so it was just busted, like more than double is insane.
That is insane.
One of the factors is it would not be double if you found optimal melee, but we were the only team at the time who properly knew how to farm everything optimally at all stages of the game. We have a lot of players who are really good at early game farming and like mixed eco farming. But the most important transition around 40 to 60 and 60 to max eco, a lot of people are unable to properly do unless it's both farming and co-op.
Yeah.
What's even
I
the,
guess
can you explain like how do those like transitions work? Like how what makes for some people early game farming easier than like round 60, like you said? Because you can say that and I'm not really gonna understand why, you know what I mean? Like I get that, oh, one is easier, one's harder, but why? Like is there any reason behind that?
So effectively on round 1 to 40, you are basically locked into a specific part of the strategy until around 30-ish. You are always going to have only about 2 or 3 options, which one is rushing an early bank, the other one is spamming 200 farms, and the third one is just getting ready to transition into an IMF with a mix of both. And until that part you are set, and after that you only have like 3 main options. One is a normal Miniopolis, which is a Monkeyopolis with a base farm, so a 000 farm, which makes 1200 per round. The second option is a IMF Opolis, which is a Opolis where you get an IMF, you get the ability ready, you get everything ready, and then you sacrifice that IMF after using the ability to the city, which then makes, I think it was 2400 around. But you also have a snowball of now, after they changed some stuff with the city, 12,000 cash that you can instantly use that you would not have with the Miniopolis. Those strategies are usually really close for tier 1 farming. And after that, you just get markets, you get a balloon trap, you get a rubber to gold, and you get 2 boats to sell the towers. That is basically how you do that. Explained very easily. And then you have the third option, which is usually a co-op only strategy, which is just full on IMF farming, where you keep getting more and more IMFs built with collecting the cash you deposit, using abilities, and effectively scaling exponentially with the debt. Usually you have jumps from 1 IMF to 3 IMF to 5 IMFs to 7 IMFs and like stuff of the sorts, which 7 IMFs just end you with around, I think it was closer to 85 to 90k-ish, whereas normal farming does not surpass 80k, like usually ever.
Huh. This is
And
like, I just like how co-op is everyone is player 3 in this case.
effectively the IMF player is player 3. They just have around 70, 60, 70k debt, depending on how many IMFs they get. In certain weeks, it goes all the way up to 10. Some weeks we have also gotten all the way to 13 IMFs, which is close to 200k on tier 1 already. And in co-op specifically, you do not have to pay back the debt because you can send the cash to another player. So you effectively ignore the 80k or whatever you have as debt and then just have way more eco. And for co-op specifically, a lot of players just rely on that for carrying their tier 2 farming. And the reason tier 2 farming specifically is harder is because you now have options. You're not locked into like an early game till around 30 to around 40. You can choose between many different ways to farm. There's stuff just like continuing the same way with a Miniopolis, getting markets surrounding it, and then getting into a Banana Central on usually around 49 to 51. Or there's stuff like boat farming, which if you have enough boat space for, I think it was worth after a 16 stack on some maps, you could get those and continue boat farming, which has really good scaling if you can do it. There's the option of having so much cash after tier 1 that you can instantly go into a boat stack with a Lord of the Abyss, which then
Oh,
allows you to get a 20 stack. Sometimes we have gotten it all the way to a 30 stack instantly, which is very rare though, which then you can snowball that into a second Lord of the Abyss and a third one, and so you of course only have one, so you stop at a 20 stack. And then you have the option of druid farming on some weeks, but unfortunately that has kind of been patched. And in the way of also doing the different farming strategies, you also have different ways of placing your towers. You have way more leeway, and you have to choose when to transition, choose when to target your traps, when to get a second trap, because one trap will at some point no longer be enough. And all of that stuff is just way harder to figure out than the round 1 to 40, because you have 20 rounds of every round having different options.
And the more options and the more moving parts, just like the harder it becomes because there are just more things to keep track of as well.
Yeah, that however changes around round 80, where usually you have enough cash where you just transition to overclock BRFs on the entire map and start getting really big Opolyses. So upwards of 30 farm Opolyses at times. Those then end up making 200 to 300k around on their own, and you can still have the rest of the farming done.
yeah.
So at that point, you
Oh,
reach the
wow.
point where you have so much stuff that you plateau and you can just maximize one farming strategy again.
Then it becomes easier again.
Yes. But
I
max
see.
eco is also very hard because a big Opolis can cost upwards of 800k, and you have to make sure you don't overspend to actually afford your tier 4 kill or your tier 3 kill.
Yeah, the amount of calculations you must be doing must be insane. I mean, I'm already getting lost in what you're saying. I can Doggo and Curly, I bet.
I have been
Right,
lost
yeah,
this whole
completely
time,
understand.
bro. I've been lost this whole time.
I'm
bro.
trying to follow, but
I don't know anything about ranked.
I don't have a big enough brain for this. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
not. I'm
you
not
guys
built for
know
this.
me. I know nothing.
We do know
No,
you,
it's okay.
Curly. No, but I mean, you are spouting like some insane wisdom, and like it's so interesting. And I said this during ranked, and ranked, you also came at it from such an interesting philosophy of like how do competitive players think, especially considered compared to casuals, right? There are quite a few
Like
people
filthy casual.
that like struggle to beat bosses, right? Like and just like what goes on like to actually like fully understand not only the money that you're making but the damage output, the milliseconds and quite literal frames that you have to like optimize.
Perfect. Yeah,
And you guys
nice.
have been doing it for years and years, and like over hundreds, uh, uh multiple hundreds of boss events
Hours.
of practice, right? So like what goes through your head is really interesting, and how you guys consider the game.
Yeah,
It's so fascinating.
just getting a peep into how your minds work, because like I think the best way to put it is like it's mesmerizing, right? Just like hearing all this and being like, there's so much thought that goes into it that you'd like never think of. Like
Yeah.
it's super
I think
interesting.
I think for a lot of the people listening or watching right now, a big thing is to everything I just said, even if you didn't understand it very well, don't be intimidated by it. This is like very, very high-end thinking about it. If you just want to get in, the most important thing, like I said, is just to have fun. Because if you have fun, you're gonna get better and you're gonna start to understand those concepts really quickly.
Totally. And you guys have come together as a community. Like as you said, quite for Diamondback, you literally got together the best players just to come up with new strategies and like and figure out like what works best. This was I know in previous boss events and even during the boss tournament, if I like the Plasma Monkey fan club and I think the
Yeah.
Century Champion was a big use, like was kind of a newer strategy that not as many people have seen, going into like defeating some like defeating the first tier boss, right?
Yeah,
Like
so
they're constantly being new strategies being brought up.
Plasma Monkey Fan Club itself has been a very well-known strat in the high-end competitive community. It just has not made its way down to like the lower end because it requires a lot of cash to actually use. It's on the high end of cost for those tier 1 strategies. Its payoff is really big, however.
And it's just so cool. And especially like and I am kind of curious in the future, right? Like and honestly, where you think it could go, like what updates Ninja Kiwi can make, especially since they balance around boss events, is what you said. Like um like to keep this fresh and to keep this like not just balance changes, but Diamondback was a newer type of boss event. Some people like it, some people don't.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a change. And they've been like in the Frontier Legends DLC, they added new balloon types that do change how you play the game. Because eventually those purple, I forget what they're called. Those purple balloons are going to make waves in a normal balloon event. But
I
yeah, where do you think it could go in the future? And like, how could it be? What would you wish for?
I mean, specifically for Frontiers balloons, I think Diamond balloons were already a show that, unless majorly changed, none of them are really gonna work. because we all saw the first Diamond Back event and how horrible it was to deal with those, so they would have to majorly rework those.
Mhm.
I think Ninja Kiwi is gonna keep focusing on more complex stuff. Like we had the basically the continuation. Bloonarius is a big bloon and it spawns bloons. Lich heals, and now they reworked it and it's completely ridiculous, but we're gonna stay off that because I have not played enough of that yet to properly say something to that. Then they added Vortex, which had a stun at the blockback. Then they had Dread Bloon, which had immunities, which was interesting. They had Phase, which dashes forward and is a camo boss. Then they added the Purple Bloon, Blast Pop, which they went complete overkill with everything they did. And the performance of how the games work in it have drastically been going down because of that. At the start, they had an immediate overheat on the spawn of the boss, which just meant you had 9 seconds of waiting before anything happened, which was just incredibly
not-
annoying.
Yeah, that's not fun.
And the boss seemed specifically designed against every single ranked strategy, because the overheat was designed against timed in that sense. The rock balloons and the overheat was also designed against least tiers events with tower spam, and the meteors it's started shooting out were specifically against least tier events because your towers get stunned, and then you have them also stunning your good DPS towers on bosses. Which that is around the time where you just put towers close to the boss, put towers far away from the boss, and had one Opolis that costs close to 1.2 million cash just to take all the fireballs. So you just had 1.2 million in a Opolis standing there on tier 5 because you did not want your Ace Paragon to get stunned.
It is crazy. Yeah, because there is like a difference of like, sure, it can break up the meta, right? You would never have to buy a $1.3 million Opolis, but like just to avoid a stun,
Yeah.
like, and there is a tough sweet zone. I mean, I don't necessarily envy being in Ninja Kiwi's position of having to come up with like fresh new content to challenge current metas, because you don't want the same strategy to just work on every boss. You want iteration.
Yeah.
But and like they've also been going in. It has been interesting because like the whole Powers Pro thing. Like now, personally, I said this early on an earlier podcast, but especially because powers are such a quality of life, uh, like it's kind of a shame that one, you can't even use them in boss events, but like the Power Pros with the upgrade path is essentially useless. Like you end up, I mean, much less you can't use them, but also they're kind of designing this feature, one, that costs monkey money, but two, you can't use in events for their quality of life purposes. Like tech bots would be infinitely useful, I can imagine, especially with the
Yeah.
TechBot Pro.
One problem with those is, however, that TechBot Pro actually has a competitive advantage.
Mm.
Because the ability uses instant, and for co-op you have a base delay of 0.2, 0.3 seconds. So
Oh.
you would just buy tech bots, place them down, and have, like, if you remember from the podcast with Bronze, the tier 2 kill where he used first strikes, he had to actively use one by one. With tech bots you can have all 8 shoot at the same exact time. So there is no execution skill mehr in that. You just have tech bots to instantly use those, per example.
That's actually a good point. I didn't think about, because and likewise for the like Banana Farmer Pro, right? You're just making more money. Like
Yeah,
it's
effectively. The only power you could have is the banana farmer, but even that is a competitive advantage because at times you have bananas spawn at the last second of a round and you have to collect them before the round ends in case you retry the round, which is annoying, but it's also something that you have to look out for. So it's technically, while not a real competitive advantage, it is technically a very, very minuscule advantage still.
yeah, still, and when you're dealing with frames and like it does come down to that.
At times, yeah.
Because yeah, like I am curious to see where they go. Like with bosses to make them. I mean, like, what would you, and Rank, this goes for you too. What would you say is the best designed boss so far?
It
And
used
like,
it definitely used to be like Dread Balloon. Every competitive player agreed that it was by far the best designed boss. But now that they added 8 skulls for Dread Balloon on Elite, let's just say there are very, very mixed opinions on that.
Wait a minute, they did what, the Dread Balloon?
They added 4 extra skulls on Elite. So instead of having 4 skulls on normal and 4 skulls on Elite, it has 4 skulls on normal and Elite has 8 skulls. So you go through all of the immunities twice.
I'm sorry, why
That also
was
means
what was this? What was this added? Why was this added?
I don't even know. I didn't know that this was added.
be, be,
Nor did I.
because the event developer thought it was a good idea. But now, specifically for unranked, people are gonna struggle insanely hard with tier 1 rock balloons, while the high-end competitive scene is just gonna use the same kill, which is Plasma Monkey Fan Club and a MAD. And just not care about that at all. So effectively they only made it more horrible for least tiers, and casual players. So in my opinion, Dread Blue Normal is still one of the best designed bosses. After that, it's probably Phase.
Phase is my personal favorite. I mean, maybe Bloonarius. Bloonarius is the one that you could just go all out on. It
Yeah,
feels.
Yeah.
one problem that like a lot of competitive players have with that is just that it's just gone. It starts, it's gone.
Yeah. There's not the, like, you don't have to necessarily work around the phases as much as you have to, or around the skulls as you do for other bosses.
Yeah.
You just pretty much add like a blade maelstrom, or you get 2 maelstroms from Jerry, and you're good to go.
I would
Yeah.
be interested. I would also be interested in what Bronze thinks is the best designed boss.
I agree with you. I 100% said. I 100% agree with you. Dread Balloon was the best designed boss. I loved a good Dread Balloon week. I would play Dread Balloon like every single week. Like, although most of my runs, like most of the runs where I've gotten my second place and third places, I believe one was Bloonarius and the other 3 were all Vortex. Yeah, it was Vortex Sulphur Springs, Vortex Resort, and what was my second, third place? It was Vortex Resort again. No. It was Bloonarius this time. Yeah, Bloonarius this time. So I do agree that Dread Balloon is the best signed boss, but because of this new elite thing, I'm not so sure. I didn't even know this was a thing.
It's interesting. For the first time, you'll have to deal with rock balloons on primary phase.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
this change has made it so that for the boss tournament, which we are planning for 2026, so this year, pretty soon, TM,
Yeah.
I had a Dread Balloon round in mind that I wanted to push, and this change completely destroyed all of my planning for that round. So I
Right.
still have to completely rework the entire round.
primary immune Dread Balloon rocks are probably the worst thing possible that they could have added.
Yes, it's also gonna hurt least tier strategies on tier 5 a lot, because
100%.
a lot of those rely on a weak tower to beat the first skull, and then a primary paragon, usually for the rest.
Yeah, like normally
Uh,
it's like Ninja Gon, Boomer Gon, Sub Gon. Normally it's Sub Gon, Ninja Gon.
Ninja Gon and Boomergon would not have an issue because Ninja Gon is strong, but at times we had events where we used MAD and Boomer Paragon, and that just no longer works. Or like Boomer Paragon and Final Harmonic. Like those strategies are not going to work anymore.
this is it's like because yeah, like the direction that they're going, I the fact that I didn't know how long when did the dread balloon change happen?
It was also in version 54, so not long ago.
Okay.
We have not had an event with it yet, because we're of course still on Diamondback number 3, and we're probably gonna get Diamondback number 4 next week, which I feel like we're gonna have really stupid modifiers next week. So not looking forward to that at all.
Eventually, then they'll have to throw in the new Lich, and then which seems to be up in the air on whether that was a good change or not.
New
I
Lich?
think
What?
I
There's a
think
new Lich?
Have you not heard
Lich has
about that
been
yet?
reworked. Yes.
Yes, Lich has been reworked to Lich 2.0. Much easier though, in a way.
Okay, yeah,
Oh,
I remember now.
oh,
I remember now.
easy. So specifically on the part of easier, I think you should play that for the next podcast and talk about your experience on that.
Oh God, is it that bad? I thought it was made to be easier for new people.
Oh, it's easier and timed if you have cash, but let's just say there is normal lich in contested territories right now,
Yeah, I saw
and
that.
we are not having fun at all. There's a
Is
What?
specific there's
mostly
a spe-
because of the Lich Souls now?
because of the lich souls, but also because it spawns smaller Moabs constantly and tombstones that spawn a bunch of balloons.
What?
And it's just really not fun to deal with that if you have no farming like on contested territory. Like I was trap farming this morning at like 1 a.m. my time. I had to play that lich a 2-tier on Winter Park. I think I ended up getting around 11 minutes with 2 Super Monkey Storms on that, and it was only 2 tiers. I was really not enjoying that.
That's
Oh
insane. I
man.
remember getting two tiers of trap farming. I think normally I would get like maybe what towers were on there? What towers did you use?
There was Sniper, and I had to use a Crossbow Master, or else I was dying to the rounds on the second tier all the time.
A crossbow master on a lich. I've never seen that before.
That was the only thing that was really properly beating the Moabs for me at the time, because I only had like around 2 more minutes before the tide was rolling over to the second hour, and we would have lost points there. But that's a whole different topic.
Huh. You actually mentioned contested territory, and I know that this has been going on for a while, so I'll probably start to wrap up. But I am curious because there's also it's not just boss events that exist. You mentioned a bit of racing that you do races,
Yes.
and then also the forgotten modes of contested territory and boss rush, and
Uh,
like well, and I think that they all specifically have their communities as well. Because I know that there are some insane contested territory players.
yeah.
And I'm just curious, like, your perspective on these other events. As you've said before, you've done racing.
Yeah, so specifically Boss Rush, there is not really a ranked mode. There is only one single team right now that kind of does speedruns for the mode. So as soon as the mode comes out, they speedrun all 5 islands as fast as they can. That team is called Riot. It's they always have a really good roster, and they allow players to join to collect the rewards. Aside from that, you don't really have any competition in Boss Rush. For CT specifically, it's been going on this is the 97th event now, and there's one team called CTA, Cheesing the Algorithm, which I'm currently also playing for. That just has been consistently getting first over all of the events, only losing like 20 or 30 of those, because it's the only team that actually managed to keep players for that long of a time just consistently playing the mode. So contested territory is a mode that's very heavily relying on being able to get 15 players to actively play the mode every single day for a whole
Yeah,
week.
because it's timed, right? So eventually, someone has to wake up in midnight or 2 a.m. to make sure
Yeah,
that they catch the perfect timing that they can get the best score on.
yeah. And for race specifically, currently, I believe it is still the hardest mode to get top 3s in, top 3 placements, but that is largely just relying on one single player that is just miles better than everyone else. That is kind of dominating that and is basically the person who decides who is able to top 3 and who is not able to top 3. If it was not for that that person, boss events would meanwhile have been way harder.
Mm.
But that person single-handedly is keeping races as the hardest mode. Yeah, and then technically we have a new event called Social Season, which may not be ranked, but it's similar to Boss Rush in the way that you have 5 quests and you just have to complete them, which it seems fun, but this specifically quest number 2 and 3 are just taking a very long time to complete. I think I ended up taking around 8.5 hours, and I was still the first player to finish that.
Wow. That's it's interesting. Wow, because like like they're all interconnected too. The communities that do like the teams that do the best on each individual mode. And competed them, which is it's really cool. So it's awesome to kind of get a shout out and also like some of the flaws with what makes each popular.
Yeah, so I specifically have played a lot of modes. Before I actually got really into bosses, I used to be one of the best all-round players, just across all modes, because I played all modes a decent bit and was a bit in every community. And that just led to me having a lot of connections everywhere and just talking to a lot of people. So I understand the basics of each mode better than probably anyone. Of course, there are players who are way better at race than me, who understand contested territories way better than me. I would even argue that some players understand boss better than me. But overall, across all modes, I think I have the most insight into all of them just because of how long I've been around and how much I played with every one of them.
Totally.
So you're just like the GOAT at everything, is what I'm hearing.
Actually,
That's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm
that's
hearing.
just some flexing. Oh, I'm just so familiar with everyone, with every area, and just a god, you could say.
I mean, it's less of being familiar with anything. It's more that I just have connections everywhere. Just because if you just talk to different people in the community, you are eventually bound to get around every part of it. And
Totally.
I've just basically been the longest active member who's been.
You know everyone
Like
on
in
these
every mode.
streets, man.
You know everyone, dude.
Everyone on the streets of Bloons.
Dang. That's pretty sick, though. No, that's pretty sick.
That is pretty cool.
It's pretty sick.
Yeah.
Is
So
there, actually, I wanted to ask this. Like, is there a reason though that like you chose to get this competitive at like Balloons rather than like BTD6 rather than any other game?
I mean
Like,
basically
there are a lot of games in this world.
yeah.
So
Basically I think it boiled down to I played BTD5 in 5th grade. I then started playing BTD6 and I placed high early and I just got into it, and after that a large part and a large meme was also that I said I was gonna quit after my first normal first place, then it turned to 10, then it turned to 30, then I wanted to have the most in the game, then it turned to, yeah, you should get 100 in total, and then it turned to have 100 in each. And it went from like, okay, I want one and I'm done, it just snowballed and snowballed. I would say it's almost an addiction.
almost
And you had
an
your computer
addiction.
taken away early on. You're back on the grind
Yeah,
still.
just like
So.
Yeah. So that kinda got me where I'm at right now.
This actually is a weirdly good segue. Doggo, I think you
Yeah.
have a great question to ask.
You read
Oh,
my mind.
shoot.
You read my mind.
Oh no, it's happening, everyone. It's happening.
You
It's
read my
happening.
mind.
Panic. Sound the
Everyone.
alarms.
So-
Everyone.
Felix,
Felicia,
are you ready
you,
for this
you
impossible
know
question?
Okay,
you know how I just said like there are a lot of games, right? A lot of games in this world, and you
There's a
chose
lot.
BTD6. Well, I have a question for you.
I'm all ears.
All ears. That's absolutely perfect. Again, BloonsRanked was asked this question. He came up with a pretty interesting answer.
Along with
And
you
this
know,
is
now-
the question.
yeah.
This is
We
the
the most
question.
impression
we
you will
asked
ever
The
be
most
asked.
original of the
Abraham
questions, by
Lincoln,
the way.
George Washington, Albert Einstein, all of them have been asked this question before. Each of them
And
had a
now
very philosophical
I shall
answer.
now ask you.
Now it's your turn.
Even Sam from Ninja Kiwi was frankly just stunned at the brilliance.
was
Sam was
stunned.
flabbergasted.
He was stunned.
He was shocked completely. Anyway, allow me to be crystal clear. Would you rather have unlimited bacon, so an unlimited amount of bacon? We all know what bacon is, right? An unlimited amount of
from
it,
the pig, from
Love
the pig.
bacon.
I love it too.
but no games. So you have unlimited amount. You have an unlimited amount of bacon, but no games.
That's a lot of bacon, but no games.
A lot of bacon,
Yeesh.
but no games. None.
Yeesh.
Or an unlimited amount of games.
Whoa.
So
Unlimited.
unlimited, as many as you want, all of the games that could ever theoretically exist.
Unlimited.
Unlimited amount of them, but no games.
None.
So none.
Yeah,
What do
there's
you
none.
think?
Yeah, so I think you messed up the very important question. I think you meant to say no bacon there, and
No, I
No,
feel
no,
like I
no.
was being
He said it
crystal
right.
clear there.
He said it right.
Yeah, let me do it again.
No, you
So
probably just didn't. It's okay. Everyone gets stumped. It's okay.
no,
We'll
so,
just
yeah,
say
it's
so
all right. It's all right. An unlimited amount of bacon
unlimited.
and no games,
None.
or an unlimited amount of games
Unlimited.
but no games.
None.
What are we thinking here?
Take your time. Take your time. Take your time.
So that's quite interesting. I could have infinite bacon, but I would have no games. Okay,
Correct,
yeah,
yep.
that's
Unlimited.
Or-
Don't forget unlimited.
yeah,
Unlimited,
or
yeah.
I could have unlimited games, but no games.
That's correct.
Exactly. Nail on the head
Unlimited
right there.
amount of games.
It's unlimited, but also no games. None.
So
That's quite interesting.
Take your
I
time.
think I would personally. Well, is there any specific rules as to what I can do with the bacon?
You just have an
Well,
unlimited
it's
amount of
just
bacon.
an unlimited
amount of
bacon.
bacon.
I don't have
You
infinite
can do whatever
amount.
you want with it. You can summon the bacon. Let's put it that way. You just summon
Yes.
it out of thin air.
Unlimited.
No
amount of
rules
bacon.
attached.
There's no limit.
I think I would take the bacon then, because if
But then you don't
I'm
have any
think
games.
But you're getting no
If
You can't
games.
speedrun anymore.
You're
Think
getting
of
no
that.
games.
yeah, but if I'm thinking of it, I could go ahead and start doing magic shows where I just start summoning bacon.
That's a good. But
And
no,
I
you
could
wouldn't be
say-
able to
That's a
do
great
that
point.
because a magic show is like you're playing a game, and the rules
That
are
is
you
true,
get no
and there are
games.
no games.
There's
It's
no
a
type of
mind game.
Yeah, and the rule is there's no games that you can play.
That's a good catch, Curly.
That's why you have to take your
That's a good
time. You have
point.
to take your time with this question because it's very in depth.
So would opening a company also count as a game then?
No.
I wouldn't think so.
So I
That's
could make
business related.
I could make the infinite magic bacon company.
I mean, you could.
You
And
very well
then-
could,
then I
yeah.
It would probably do a lot of damage to the bacon market. I mean,
Yeah.
you'd have an unlimited amount of
that's true.
supply, unless you are able to keep it a secret.
There'd
but
be a
that
very
would lead
big
to
overpopulation of
speculative
pigs.
investing. I mean, yeah, the
Yeah.
bacon industry,
No,
the bacon
I-
bubble would probably pop
think
someday.
I think ultimately I would take the bacon, because even if
Mm.
I'm not allowed to do magic shows, I could have the unlimited magical bacon factory, and
get
that
that,
could
yeah.
that could help a lot of people, especially people
Mm.
in need of food.
I mean, yeah, you could cure world hunger.
But I have to
True.
ask,
Wow.
why didn't you choose the other option? I'm
Yeah, why not the
curious.
other option?
Me personally, if I have infinite games but no games,
Unlimited games. Unlimited.
yeah, if I
Yeah.
have unlimited games but no games, if it really boils down to it, what is a game without a game?
Wow.
Is a
You know what?
game without game even still a game, or is a game without game just the emptiness you feel inside?
Well, it's not a
Is the
game.
game
It's
without a
unlimited
game
games. It's
a
unlimited.
game? Which means that there can't be a game. So what about the game that cannot be a game?
That's true.
That is a game, but
If there's
cannot be a game because there are no games.
If there's a game that's not a game, that's infinite games. But yeah, that's quite a predicament.
Well, I have to
Einstein
say that
didn't
is
even
one of the
get
best
out of this
answers
one.
I have
That is one
heard.
of the best. I remember when we
Yeah.
asked Albert Einstein, he was like, E equals MC squared. And it was just like he was on
And
some
get
corny
to
Yeah, I don't
my
know what that
house.
guy was
He
on.
was
like,
he was on some corny stuff. Why are you in my house? I didn't let
Yeah.
you come. He was just corny.
That's
Yeah.
that's kind of weird. I mean, he should answer the question first. After that, he can complain.
True.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I tried to tell him. Poor
Bloons
kid.
there
ranked
anything that you
answer
want to
was
say
no comment.
before we wrap up?
Yeah.
So,
Which I respect. I
There
respect
we
Yeah,
it.
I mean, I can't. I mean, my whole entire career that revolves around balloons. I can't really pick one.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's difficult. I don't blame you. I don't
I
blame
mean,
you.
you'd have an unlimited amount of balloons games. Like
Then you
get
when
no
we did the
balloons
Bloons
games.
TD7 right now, you'd be playing Bloons TD 5000. Hell, any number higher than that, you'd be playing it.
But I can't because no games.
That's true. There's no games.
But there's
Oh,
an
that's
unlimited
true.
amount of
That's true.
games.
Yeah,
I
there
feel
is
like
an
no one
unlimited amount.
remembers that.
Yeah.
But then people often forget that there's also no games.
Yeah, because it's both
Yeah.
like it's like a catch 22. You get unlimited games, but also no games. So it's like, are you gonna play the unlimited
But
amount of
Catch
games when you're
22
not allowed
is
to
kind
have
of a
no
game,
games?
so then that doesn't exist either.
It's just the question is just unbeatable.
What even
Basically,
is a game at that point?
it's philosophical, one might
Yeah.
say.
True.
Yeah, well, I think
Anyway.
it helped. I think it helped that I had philosophy in school, so that clearly helped me.
Did you really take philosophy
that's
and
why-
then you ended up becoming a Bloons TD6
That's why.
competitive player?
That's why you took philosophy, so you could answer the question on the Balloons cast.
Yeah, I actually was informed by Albert Einstein that I had to do that.
I remember him.
Wait,
dude.
Felix,
Yes.
are you in college?
No, I am currently working.
Oh no.
That's fair. So you took philosophy in high school?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess the German just
Out of pure
education
choice,
system,
or was it mandatory?
education system is much better than here.
My high
Yeah, we
school
don't
had a
have-
philosophy class. I just didn't take it.
We didn't have philosophy.
I had
Mine
philosophy.
In
I
the
had
class, you guys
psychology
discussed
as
on whether
well.
there should be a philosophy class in high school.
I remember I was gonna take it, but I dropped the first day because I walked in and my teacher asked me a question, and she was like, "I'm gonna give you an option. You have unlimited games, but no games, and unlimited bacon, but no games." And I just walked out because I wasn't capable enough to answer the question yet, so I just
You
had to
weren't
walk
ready.
out.
You weren't
I wasn't
ready yet.
ready. But ever since I met
understand.
Doggo, I was ready, and my life has been better ever since I figured out how to answer the question.
Exactly.
Honestly,
Your philosophy teacher was Doggo. You just didn't realize that yet.
Doggo,
Yeah,
that
I
was
was in
you.
disguise.
Doggo,
Exactly.
you weren't bad looking. I'll say that, Doggo. I'll give it to you.
And I ain't now.
All right.
I
While
was
Curly and
just
Doggo go
beautiful.
get a room, it was absolutely fantastic having you on Ranked, Felix. This is an absolute pleasure. Is there anywhere that your socials will be linked below, but do you want to say them right now?
Yes.
Where people can find you?
Yeah, I mean my YouTube channel is Felicia die Göttin. It's basically a German name. And I would also like to advertise the Bloons tournament, the boss tournament that we are going to have soon-ish. We're planning to start it at the beginning of summer.
Ooh.
So some info that I was allowed to leak, as I'm now part of the organization team instead of a player for the event, is that we are going to have a new form of qualifiers. Last year we had only one qualifier in least cash. This year we are going to have 3 different qualifiers where people are going to be able to choose which mode they want to qualify for, timed least cash and least tiers, as well as a change in the group stage, shortening it to only 3 rounds, 1 of each as well. And we
Oh.
have also changed the tournament from a single elimination to a double elimination bracket. That means even if you get ranked against one of the better players early on, you can lose and there's no pressure. You can play just for fun and just continue playing until you lose the second time in the losers bracket. So one loss is not going to determine the entire tournament for you.
Oh, that
That's
is
basically
very
the
exciting.
Good changes.
That's nice, bro.
Ranked, are you planning on participating?
I am indeed planning on participating. I don't know whether I might do least tiers because least cash is not really my thing. I'm not great with placements and everything, but least tiers and least time I might think about. But at least cash will be like a last resort.
And if you, the listener, viewer, if you think you have what it takes, go check it out. I think that
Yeah,
it
go
was
check it
a phenomenal success.
I agree.
Last year.
Yeah, wait.
Should we link the Discord for
Yeah,
the
Felicia, I
tournament?
was gonna say, what should we do to like? Could we link that somewhere in the description at all, or is it kind of like a?
Yeah, that's no problem. I can get you a permanent invite link.
Yeah, just send me the link. So that means everyone watching Felicia's channel, Ranked's channel, and the Discord for this very special event are going to be right down in the description below, which you could probably participate in. I don't know. That sounds pretty cool. I don't know about you guys.
That sounds.
That is pretty cool.
And I just realized
Wait, can I ask?
we forgot to do the comments for the last video. We forgot.
I was just about to say. I was just about to say. But the thing is, there aren't any new comments.
I think I just uploaded the last podcast.
There are a few.
2 hours ago.
Yeah.
No, I don't think there's. Yeah, I don't think there's any comments.
There are 2 comments on the video that dropped the week before. So
yes, let's look at that one.
Ranked. 2 new comments. One is from Oleneku. I have no idea how to pronounce that name.
Oleneku.
And
Oleneku.
You actually pronounced it pretty well, I think, the first time.
Oleneku. Whatever it may be, he commented, "I'm surprised. I didn't know BloonsCast exists earlier. Cool idea."
Oh, W, bro. That's how the BloonsCast works, guys. It's just word of mouth, and you're kind of niche if you find this because it's cool.
Yeah, you are actually pretty niche.
That is, it is awesome though. We are uploading weekly, so
okay.
stay tuned.
Don't gatekeep this though.
You know, we got some bigger episodes coming out.
Don't gatekeep this. Make sure to let your friends know.
Friends, family, grandma, dog,
friends, family, yeah,
grandpa,
dog, cat,
cousin,
lizard, people stuck in your basement. You know,
anyone,
all
dude,
people.
anyone
Really. Even a random person on the street. I'm sure they'll love to hear about this.
Okay,
we also have a comment from.
Is it Choco? Yeah, this comment is so weird. This comment is so weird and ranked. I am so glad I can talk to you about this. I think we should read it because what the hell is this?
BloonsRanked before. Just want to make things straight. I'm a minor too. He's chill AF though, no joke. If this comment get a bunch of replies, I might post the DMs.
What is he talking about?
What is this?
I don't even know who this guy is.
Chocolate Plays Game said he DM'd you and he's gonna leak it if it gets enough comments. Like, what is he talking about? What is this?
Hey, you know what? I'm all for this. Release the BloonsRanked files.
Release the ranked files, bro. Release the files.
The BloonsRanked files. Chocolate Plays.
No. That's the last thing the world needs.
There's actually a few more comments.
Come on.
There's this one.
There are.
I'm assuming this is you, Felicia. I don't know how to say this because I'm not German, but Felicia die Gotin. Is that?
Yeah, that's good enough.
Oh, good enough.
Felicia
die Gotin with a dude. That's a good brew in his hand with the druid. Do you drink over there in Germany a lot?
It depends. Currently, not as much. I used to a lot more before, though.
Yeah, I wish I didn't have to be 21 to drink over here in the States, but okay, your comment is not that good. Do you want to read it out, Felicia?
I mean, so see, I was watching the BloonsCast with BloonsRanked in VC with a lot of top players, and you know, We were watching it, and the second
Oh.
that 4 minutes and 12 seconds started, we all unanimously just decided it was the perfect moment. Because you really had to say it. It was immaculate. Because you had the perfect opportunity, but you didn't act it out.
Oh,
Because you should have just done the 6-7!
no!
6-7!
What the hell? What is your problem?
Bleep it out. Bleep it out. In the edit.
That's getting bleeped
Bleep it
out.
in the edit.
That is getting
The
bleeped
kids can't
out.
hear this.
Ah, I'm so
kids
sorry.
can't hear
Little
this.
Timmy, I know we've told you
I-
some pretty brutal things. Do not say that word.
Do
Don't.
not
This is too
repeat
brutal. This is
what you
too
have
brutal for
heard.
little Timmy's ears.
Yeah, so I encourage all the comments to timestamp this moment.
Oh
So they
my.
have to say it in the next episode.
And then
We
this is
will
all
have to
bleeped,
say
by
it.
the way. This is all bleeped,
We-
censored.
You know what? If we
What I do
get
I don't understand though is that the number that you provided is 412 and does not include
is there
a
any-
6 or 7. So this is
Yeah,
completely
there
Curly
is, there
said
is.
something though.
There is. This is it. This is it
If
right
you
here.
check the timestamp,
23.67.
23.6. I'm not gonna say it, but.
you know what?
Bleep
If this podcast gets exactly 67 likes, then we will read all of the comments, which is never happening by the
Okay,
way.
and don't forget,
But if it does,
Cataboo's
If you really want it
comment.
to happen,
It's taboo.
Kataboo, who commented, Doggo can take.
yeah, we're not
Doggo,
reading
Doggo
that.
can, Doggo can take
this
the
weird
microphone
number.
for
I
this.
don't know what it is.
All right, wait. That is an I think this is a visual glitch.
Siete.
no. It's a visual glitch because that's a 9. That's upside down.
Oh,
It's actually
ooh,
97. It's a visual
Ah.
glitch.
97, huh? What a weird comment.
It's a random number. Yeah.
I'll give it
It's
to you.
I wonder.
94 without one line with a line missing. That's what it
What
is,
are you talking
clearly.
about? What? We still haven't hopped on Cookie Clicker, by the way.
Yeah, we haven't
I
done
have
that
the
yet.
last. We
We have
haven't.
not.
When are we gonna do the Cookie Clicker episode?
Next
When
week.
we
Who's
get
down?
That sounds crazy.
Bloons
What?
I might start
When
playing
we get to
Cookie
Bloons
Clicker
mod.
now.
Wait, oh my God! There's a new comment on the news video. Doggo, do
Oh
you
my
want to check it
goodness.
out? Oh my God.
I will, of course, check it out. All right, let's see this. If you guys haven't actually seen that video, then make sure to check it out. Whoever the Doggo Dutchman kid is, probably not cool or something. All right, whoever wrote this must not
Whoever
exactly have
wrote
a
that
good
is
grasp
kind of
of English
crazy.
grammar. Whoever the Doggo
Ah.
Dutchman kid is, probably not cool. Whoever wrote this must have be very good at English.
Yeah, who the
Uh,
heck did that?
I
Who the
wonder.
heck did that? Wait, what comment are you even talking about?
It's the one in the newest video. If you use this monkey, you suck. From the BloonsCast. I wonder who runs this
I don't
channel.
see the comment anywhere. What are you talking? Like, refresh your page or
Oh,
something.
let me screenshot it for you real quick. I got this. Let's see here. There we go. I'll share this comment with you so that you can really see it, but you know.
No, because for me, it says whoever the Doggo Dutchman kid is probably really weird, which is proper English. That's from what at least from what I'm seeing over here on my side.
Wait, can you say that again?
No, I don't want to. My keyboard just
Okay.
disconnected as well, so the people watching at home just heard
Whoever
my
the
Windows sound.
Doggo Dutchman kid is probably not cool or something. That's not proper grammar.
Wait, where is it?
I wrote
Oh, wait,
That's
descending
screwed
from-
up.
Oh, W Doggo Dutchman. All right, well,
I
guys,
can't believe
let's,
that you
we
photoshopped
gotta
that.
chalk it. We gotta chalk this. We have to. How long has this been going for?
Yeah, this is an extra long podcast. Honestly, this is probably my favorite.
It's a pretty
debate.
fun one. No,
was
this was a
absolutely
fire one.
fantastic.
Honestly, this
Yeah,
was a
this
fire
was incredible.
I really do appreciate it. And again, BloonsRanked, Felicia, thank you guys
Thank
so
you
much.
guys.
for joining
Thank
us.
you guys.
This is one of the
Seriously.
Just for
mediocre
making this work.
podcasts.
Of
Yeah.
course,
No
of
problem.
course.
we are definitely gonna have you two back on. We have to. I feel like we just have to.
Absolutely.
Like we have to because this was very, very, very fun.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah,
pleasure.
I'll be down whenever. This was quite fun.
That is very good. To
Before
hear.
we end it,
So
before we end it,
Yes.
Felix, You said that you and a bunch of people were watching the video
Oh, yeah.
with me.
Yes.
The BloonsCast
How many
video.
people were watching my run?
I think at the
Make him
time we
self-conscious.
were. I
Yeah,
think
make
at the
self-conscious.
time we were 9 or 10 people in the BC.
Oh my gosh. Did you guys like the BloonsCast?
Oh.
Okay,
And did you
okay.
make sure that they all
If these people
subscribed?
happen to be watching this,
They were all
Happen
watching
to
my
be
run.
watching this.
They are going. to watch
please
this. I will make
put
sure.
in the comments and embarrass BloonsRanked
They
even
were
more.
all watching my run.
And also, don't forget that
gosh.
I'm sorry to the people watching if the gameplay was boring because I was okay. So I was recording gameplay, and I kept dying, and I just rage quit and was on the BTD6 home screen. I'm sorry.
I appreciate that you were dying with double cash mode on while
I
we're
was dying
talking
with
about how
double
to beat the
cash.
hardest of
Double
bosses in
I,
milliseconds.
it was really bad. It was really bad. It was like I literally. Oh god. No, it was not unpoppable.
You know what you could
though.
do? You could always just overlay a competitive player's run, and then just claim it to be your own.
Yeah. Who
Oh,
I
knows?
actually
could.
Maybe I have like.
Yeah,
maybe I
could
have,
Felicia send you a
seven.
run? That would just be pretty cool. Like
That
if you
would
could
be
just,
pretty
like,
cool.
have a run in the background.
Yeah,
That would be pretty
who
cool.
knows? Maybe there's like 700 gigabytes somewhere on my PC.
That would be quite a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me know
It's
if the
only, like,
secret
4-hour
prize is poor
videos.
gameplay.
I'm sorry.
Losing on double
I'm not good at
cash.
BTD6. And
Chill.
also, I apologize for not talking a lot this podcast. I just didn't know what to say.
It's okay.
And you guys were having such a good conversation that I was like, it's better if I just stay quiet. Because you guys' conversation was really
Aw.
good.
Honestly, we
I was also
were
pretty quiet, so.
we were in delightful conversation, and you guys went so in depth. It was really
It was like
again,
I
a
was
pleasure.
watching the podcast that like it was already made. Like it was just live in action. I was
Wow.
like I was basking in it and I was like, wow, this is beautiful. This is
This is why we have
absolutely
guests.
stunning.
So they could do the content for us.
Yeah.
You know, that would actually be a pretty interesting idea if like people could like listen to the podcast while we make it, if that makes sense. So like they could be a part of the voice channel, but like muted, of course. But then like
But
listening
you-
to the podcast
we live
while
stream
it's
it.
being made.
I
Like, yeah.
don't know who would ever want to do that. I'm so sorry, doggo.
I mean, technically.
Apparently, there are 10 people.
Oh, there are 10 people.
Yeah.
It's the ranked people. They would want. Oh my
What did they? Yeah.
gosh, you guys are amazing.
They can make a
people.
podcast reaking to our podcast.
Felicia and
Oh my
God.
God.
ranked, bro. Thank you guys. Thank you guys.
And then we could react
Yes,
to
of
their
course.
reaction.
Make sure you're subscribed
And-
as well.
Yes, make sure to check out everyone's socials. Once again, everyone's in the description. And also, feel free to join the BloonsCast Discord. We normally do a thing where if you're waiting in line while we were recording, we'll drag you in for 5 minutes, ask you impossible questions, and then kick you and ban you and
We
send someone
haven't
to your
done
house.
that
Take care
in
of the
like
rest.
5 episodes. We gotta
But
do
there
it
is
soon.
Yeah, I
always
was
a
about to
chance,
say.
so make sure to go check it out.
We gotta do it soon.
And
Everyone's links
Wanna all
will
say
be in the
peace at the same
description
time?
down below. Like Rocco said, thank you guys so much for watching. And hasta la vista, baby.
all right, everyone on
Ooh,
three, say
actually-
peace, and then we end. 3, 2,
Peace.
1.
Peace.
Peace.